Before 1 o'clock, a full update on the coronavirus.
Newsbeat. Eleanor here, Newsbeat sports reporter, because we're now seeing the first Premier League match cancelled because of the virus.
It's already started to hit live music in the US. It could do the same here too. This is Jimmy Blake with an update on that.
And it's Callum in Stoke finding out what it means for your money as the government prepares to announce its new budget.
BBC
Newsbeat.
So we've already had some of the Six Nations postponed, a big tennis tournament cancelled, but we're starting this lunchtime with news that now the coronavirus is hitting the Premier League. Our sports reporter Eleanor Roper is here.
Yeah, and it looks like this is just the start. Manchester City were due to host Arsenal tonight, but that is off, with a number of Arsenal players now in isolation. The Gunners played Olympiacos in the Europa League a couple of weeks ago. Their owner and the man who also owns Nottingham Forest has now tested positive for coronavirus. He met with a number of Arsenal players, which is why they're now in isolation.
So tonight's fixture cancelled, but it looks like other games are going ahead.
Yeah, so Olympiacos say their players and staff have all been tested and none of them have the virus. Wolves play the Greek side tomorrow and the game is going ahead but behind closed doors. Now that's despite the fact that Wolves asked UEFA for it to be postponed. In a statement, Wolves say the trip to Greece poses an unnecessary risk to players, staff and supporters. The club says some things are more important than football and that the good health of its team and the public is one of them.
Hi Newsbeat, it's Dan from the Wolves Fancast.
So what do you think that Wolves fans make of this decision? The club applying to UEFA saying that they wanted this fixture to be postponed, but they've said it's going ahead.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I still have friends who are travelling over to, I assume, just watch the game in a bar now, which is a shame that no fans will be in the actual ground to watch it.
Is it better, do you think, for the fixture to go ahead without fans, or would you rather see it cancelled or postponed altogether?
I think as soon as the Man City-Arsenal game this evening was postponed, and there's obviously going to be other instances throughout the season where there'll be games behind closed doors, which no one really wants. It's a no-win situation at the moment.
What do you think this means for the rest of the Premier League this season? You know, Europa League aside, surely this is going to affect other fixtures.
I've been one of those people, I'm sure there's people listening right now that have said tongue-in-cheek that we want the league to be cancelled so Liverpool don't win the league, but that's just it's just daft. No one wants to see football cancelled, but we want people's health to be the main priority over a game of football, which, like tongue-in-cheek I've said before, football means more than life or death, and it really doesn't.
Newsbeat.
Just to bring you up to date with the latest numbers, 382 cases of Covid-19 confirmed in the UK now. We know 6 people have died, and that puts us about 2 weeks behind Italy, where travel and events have been limited across the whole country, although obviously it might not come to that here. But in the UK, the official advice is wash your hands lots, avoid touching your face, and call the NHS on 111 if you think you might have the virus. And a reminder of those symptoms again, it's a fever, a dry cough, and possibly being short of breath. But as politicians keep an eye on what is happening with the virus here, one of them has caught it. And as Annabelle Rackham explains, it's someone whose job is looking after our health.
And she can often be found here.
The Houses of Parliament. I see a lot of
construction,
scaffolding around the building.
a lot of work getting done.
Not only is Nadine Dorries an MP, she's also a health minister. And you might remember her from I'm a Celeb a few years back.
Nadine, do you think you want to give this a go?
Oh, absolutely dreadful.
She was in this building on Friday doing work around the coronavirus. And that's the day she says she started getting symptoms.
Sore throat, headache, shortness of breath, sore neck, everything like that.
She's tweeted,
"It's been pretty rubbish, but I hope I'm over the worst of it now."
She also says she's worried about her 84-year-old nan who's staying with her and has started coughing, but she says she's now being tested. But this isn't the only place she was working last week. Just around the corner,
Downing Street!
She also came to a reception here for International Women's Day on Thursday, the day before she got her symptoms. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, was at the event too.
We are doing everything we can to combat this outbreak.
Number 10 says he wasn't in close contact with Nadine Dorries and doesn't have any symptoms, so won't be tested for the virus. And And even further up the road, there's really not much to tell you that this is Department of Health. I actually had to ask a few people outside. Nadine Dorris is someone that would have spent a lot of time here too, as well as at her constituency in Bedfordshire. Aishan, what are you doing to protect yourself from coronavirus?
I am washing my hands loads. I'm using the sanitizer, the gels, wearing a face mask when I need to.
Now health officials are trying to track down and test potentially hundreds of people she might have been in contact with last week. And her office in Bedfordshire has been closed too. But currently there are no plans to close this building here or to suspend Parliament.
It's about making sure that people are aware of the risks, making sure that people protect themselves, they're into isolation if they need to be, and at the moment that's it.
And it's not just sport and politics that have been affected. This is Jimmy Blake with the latest on how the virus might be affecting your summer festival plans.
Coachella, you ready?
Well, not until October. The American festival, which normally takes place in April, has been postponed by 6 months.
Supposed to be there with Matoma, singing False Alarm and Better Off Without You. Hi, my name is Becky Hill. If we lose shows that I've already booked a tour bus for and a band for and, X, Y and Z, I have to lose that money. Really, this is our bread and butter, like the festivals and the shows. This is rent money for us, and I think a lot of people will be impacted by that.
You might not have been planning on heading to California for Coachella, but what about the festivals in the UK you could already have tickets for? Glastonbury, Reading and Leeds. We've got updates from a load of them. Let's start with the big one, Glastonbury, set to be headlined by Taylor Swift and Paul McCartney in June. Their head of event operations has told us the festival puts in place all necessary measures to protect the public and maximise safety. With this in mind, and with our 2020 festival still 16 weeks away, we continue to plan and prepare for the event, whilst at the same time closely monitoring developments with the coronavirus. Next, Reading and Leeds. That's put on by Festival Republic, who also run other major festivals including Latitude, Wireless and Download. At the moment, they say all their shows and events are going ahead as planned, but they're monitoring the situation. Isle of Wight festivals say they're still going ahead, so is Camp Festival. There's been no official update on Radio 1's big weekend in Dundee in May. Tours are pretty much non-existent across Asia and Italy at the moment, with gatherings of more than 1,000 people being postponed in Switzerland, France and several major cities in Germany. South by Southwest in Austin, Texas has been called off for now. It's famous for breaking new talent from all over the world.
So we were booked for 5 shows. A couple of them were headlines. It was an incredibly important opportunity for us, which unfortunately has fallen apart now.
That's Theo from London's King Nun, who had been planning and paying for their trip to the US for months.
I was on the phone to our manager. He said if he hadn't already lost his hair, he would have lost it by now. That's a perfect indication of how long this thing's been planned for. I won't get into specific numbers, but it is definitely a scream for half an hour straight. It's in the thousands for sure.
Newsbeat.
And coronavirus problems don't stop there. It is a day of big money announcements from the government. This year's budget is being announced right now as we speak. But the plan for how the government wants to spend our cash over the next year is being hit by the virus as well. Earlier, the Bank of England made an emergency decision to change interest rates, something that could affect your job, your debts or your home. Callum Leslie is in Stoke to explain.
So interest, the amount we're charged by banks when we borrow money, like in a loan. Basically, borrow 100 quid, if it's 5% interest, you'll eventually pay back £105. And like Kat said, this stuff today is from the Bank of England. It's the central bank for the UK, which means it's kind of like the government's bank. It sets out rules and guidelines for all the high street banks to follow and keeps an eye on how the economy's doing. It matters because high street banks, the ones we go into, like this one, use the Bank of England rate to judge charges on things like mortgage and loan payments. Thank you. So why make the change now? Well, experts are worried all the disruption from coronavirus, people might be told to stay away from others, not go out and about, could mean some people not being able to pay back money they've borrowed, especially small businesses like hairdressers or cafes. Okay, what's that? And they're worried that could mean them having to shut or let staff go. So the Bank of England's trying to make payments people might need to make to banks cheaper by putting the interest rate down to its lowest level in history, 0.25%. It's changing rules to encourage banks to offer up more money for loans at lower rates as well.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I've got Hippie at Heart in Stoke. It's an alternative gift shop, and we also do food as well.
You're doing a toasty right now, right?
Absolutely am. It's finest, of course.
Say things did get a bit slow, a bit quiet for the next couple of months, would those sorts of measures help your business?
Probably not, because I've always stood on my own 2 feet and I've made do with what I have. I reckon if they could give us a couple of 3 months rent, that would be great for everybody.
So maybe a bit more leeway on things like repayments and stuff like that. I mean, that is a serious point if people weren't around and it wasn't...
Absolutely. If it did come to it and we had to close the business down because it happened to myself and had to be isolated, then yeah, definitely.
And it's not just small businesses it could help. If you have a mortgage on your flat or house, it could mean a bit of a cut in how much you pay back. Should say it would be temporary, and most people with one will have to wait to see if their lender passes the change on. But that's what the Bank of England wants to happen.
It's on the news continuously, so I think we've all got past that point now. We're just getting on with it.
Newsbeat. BBC Newsbeat. Let's just fill you in quickly now on a couple of other things going on today. Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein will be sentenced in New York later after being found guilty of rape and sexual assault. His lawyers are asking the judge to take his age, health and contribution to the film industry all into consideration. Police investigating the crash that killed footballer Emiliano Sala aren't taking any more action against a 64-year-old man. He was arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after the plane came down in the English Channel last year. It's reported Prince Harry has taken a prank phone call from someone he thought was Greta Thunberg. He spoke about his family and their move to Canada, but was actually talking to 2 YouTubers from Russia. And Little Britain star Matt Lucas is joining the Great British Bake Off. He's replacing Sandy Toksvig to co-host it with Noel Fielding.
Newsbeat.
BBC Newsbeat. US singer Lauv has just released his debut album.
Tattoos together, something to remember. If it's way